None other than Vincent Keymer is here with us in the studio after winning another game, now 6 out of 6. What a fairy tale is this? And please tell us what happened. We have seen the devilish knight f3, but we want to hear it from you.
Yeah, I think I'm getting quite lucky. I mean, against Georg was clearly the most, but also this game normally should have ended in a quiet draw, I would assume. But yeah, I mean, the starting position, I have to admit, wasn't too great for white. It's very difficult to break symmetry. I thought that if you want to try, you should go d4. But yeah, I mean, we also saw that most games were quite symmetrical, and yeah, it was very difficult for white to create anything. So yeah, I mean, I just copied, and usually it's a sign that if black can copy without there being any immediate issues, that the position is quite equal. Yeah,
did knight c2 surprise you a bit?
Not really, no. I mean, yeah, I have the choice whether to play knight f6 or knight c7 or e6. I didn't really know. I mean, knight c7, e3, of course I can also just play e6. So yeah.
Yeah, you can actually just ignore our arrows because those were not like it's good moves. I was just showing that you have these options, that options.
No, I mean, it's just a question I generally have to probably try and play for d5 at some point, or e5 as I did in the game.
But yeah, that was interesting moment. That why did you decide that e5 is more attractive than e6, especially because seeing that Nepo got nothing against MVL at that point.
Okay, I was just a little tired of making the same move and just trying to make a draw. So I felt like, I mean, I didn't feel like e5 is really risking much. So yeah.
Did you consider the move f4? We analyzed
yes, I thought
a little
f4 was one of my main moves, and yeah, it's quite complex. Like I have ef, but then I thought maybe rook f4 is interesting, and we get like a kind of weird structure. Like if I go knight e7, then you would take and go e4. And I didn't know, but also it didn't seem too dangerous. I mean, I always have d6, knight d6, f5 in the worst case. So yeah, no, I thought knight d5, d6, and you know, I felt that the only thing that might be slightly unpleasant is if he takes on c7 and then ed4. But still, I couldn't really believe that this is such a big issue. And yeah, as we did in the game, I was feeling fine.
Yeah, I was highlighting that in one of my c4, c5, g3, g3 lines, I reached this position. And I was so happy when I finally said that I want to play like this with black, because establishing the knight on d4 and then having the privilege of deciding when to take that knight on d5. How did you felt like you fully equalized, or that maybe there is even some slight potential for you in long term?
I didn't really see the potential because like direct, I need to make few more moves that lose some tempi. So I mean, just the way he played seemed very reasonable.
One question. When did you first spot it that there is this knight f3 check trick?
I mean, it was always there, also with queen on d2, and I think the whole point of why he missed it is because he played queen d3 just to avoid all kinds of knight f3. So with queen on d2, it was there much more often, and I guess that was kind of the psychological issue, that once the queen was on d3, he somewhat forgot that this might still be a problem, because usually the d file was the problem with the queen on d2, and here, yeah, I mean, just, I felt like here maybe he will go queen c3, and why I went this way is that here I can take and go queen f6. That was my idea. Or also cd queen f6, the same thing.
Yeah, can you just show this cd queen f6 for our audience? Yeah, that the knight is attacked, but there is this intermediate queen f6. Thank you.
So yeah, knight d4, rook e3. Okay, engine actually suggests it's like tiny little bit better for me, but I mean, I didn't really believe it. Also, like, what's my potential? Like, this bishop covers the squares, and if he just plays, I don't know, king g2, I mean, I can't really believe that I'm gonna be better. But I mean, it's the kind of position I don't need to worry about. Like, I can go here, I can play, and then I will see whether there's something. Just yeah, it should be quite equal. But here, I think, I mean, at first I thought, because it took me like a few minutes to spot f6.
Yes.
Because if I have to go rook e7 back, actually, it's not as clear. I mean, then he can give a check, he goes queen f6 and h4, h5, and of course I can never be worse, but I felt that here he has chances. But I mean, after f6, I think the position is just lost.
Yeah, this is why exactly what we also highlighted, that blundering knight f3, it's a cold shower, shock, everything, but then you feel like, wait a second, I can take and I have some hope. And then f6 kills all the hope. Yeah, you understand that the bishop on d5 doing nothing,
Yeah, it's
and you have very
weird.
easy play. Yeah, you just double, triple on the e file and enter with queen
And
e2.
it's such a nice bishop, but it just doesn't do anything because all my pawns are on the dark squares, and it's just giving some stability. But with the e file open, I think it's pretty much no chance. I mean, probably even rook e2 to start would be easier, because then I even attack that pawn, and then I get queen e7, queen e5 immediately. But I don't know, I just felt that who knows, some g4 might start, and I mean, I saw that I can just do this and I'm winning, but nevertheless I felt, okay, if I don't blunder anything, there's no way I'm not winning this game, so let me go back to e5 and stabilize, and then, you know, at some moment something will happen also. I had enough time on the clock, so.
Yeah, it was very funny moment because we had that, and I said that, yeah, I'm pretty sure Vincent will play rook e5. I would play rook e5. Alex said, yeah, but actually, why not rook e2? And I told him, aha, yeah, actually, we should be teaming up with Alex because I have all the stabilizing moves, he has all the active moves. And then you combined, you played rook e5, and then 3 moves later, you got everything and then came back to rook e2.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's clear that I need to use the e file to win the game. I just didn't really feel like it mattered so much when I do it. And yeah, I didn't want to risk blundering something stupid here because, I mean, that's the only way not to win this game.
And finally, at the end, when you included this a4, a5 moves, did you already think like whenever you offer the queen trade, he will avoid it and he will go for a kamikaze action, let's try to hope for something, or you were inside you kind of expecting that I still have to grind an endgame a little longer, or you thought like queen trade is like automatic win?
No, I mean, I considered whether I should push a5 because, of course, I'm closing down the whole queen side. So winning the endgame might be slightly more difficult. But exactly here, I mean, this bishop on d5 is so stupid, I will get another rook on the e file. And if I get my rook to b2 as in the game, I think it is quite dead. And also something, I mean, h4 is a kind of a weakness in endgames, right? Because I will push g5 at some point, and then he cannot really keep it closed. Anyway, I mean, with the pawn on b3, I mean, unless it's a full fortress and I have no entry squares, there's no way it's a draw. And no entry squares already with pawn on h4, I guess will never happen. I mean, unless I push h5 myself. Otherwise, always g5, king g6, king f5, king h5, and g file. It will be too much. So yeah, that's, I mean, these thoughts crossed my mind before playing f5. That's also why I waited with it for a little bit. But in the end, I decided, you know, again, I can afford it. The endgames will still be winning, and if he gets a5 and some counterplay, it's the, again, only chance I'm not winning this game. So if he just sits and waits, I will find a way to win it. And that was my reasoning behind playing a5 exactly here. But yeah, I mean, this, again, if we are playing on 2-second increment, maybe there are some chances for white to hold it, but generally, I mean, there's no counterplay. I will get to play f5, king f6, put another rook on the e file, maybe even h6, g5 at some point, or g5 immediately. It's just too much. And yeah, white has no active play, so you just have to sit and wait until I find my plan that's actually going to win the game.
And tell us, what do you feel like, what is your secret? Yeah, because I think that everybody is wondering 6 out of 6, how is this possible at all in this field? There is this 10 o'clock in the morning game, everybody feels very tired, we commentators can hardly keep pace with all the action. You are playing there on the stage, what are you doing? How do you recharge?
Well, I mean, we don't have to do anything else except for playing, and the games don't take longer than 4.5 hours, or in this case even shorter, so it's not that much. And well, you know, things went my way, especially that Georg game against Georg Mayer was of course very critical. I mean, this could have ruined my tournament as well, so that was I think kind of a critical moment for me. And then you need a little bit of help in the right moment. For example, when we got the starting position yesterday morning that Murzin didn't play d4, which would have been quite annoying, and then, you know, today a blunder from Hans, and other than that, you know, that's just it. I felt that since yesterday morning, my play was quite good, but usually that's not enough to win every game. Of course, you need a little help from your opponent, and that I got. So, of course, a very nice start, but still 3 rounds is quite a lot of time.
Of course, yeah, we know that anything can happen. We are very happy having you here in the studio. We also know that you have an afternoon game, so I think it is fair to let you go. Thank you very much for joining us. Continue in the same spirit, and we are always very happy to have you here.
Yeah, thank you.
Best of luck.